WordPress 6.4 is just around the corner, so I wanted to make a quick video highlighting the most important changes that are coming in WordPress 6.4 and help you decide if you should be updating to the latest version of WordPress as it comes out. By the way, if you're using WordPress, you should check out some of the amazing plugins that we make, like All-in-One SEO, WP Forms, Seedplot, and many, many more. The links will be in the description. Back to the video. So let's start with the first and most important change that's coming in WordPress 6.4 is a brand new theme. Yes, WordPress 6.4 is shipping now with a brand new theme. This is WordPress 6.3, and you saw, or you probably already know, the default theme in WordPress 6.3 is 2023. But in WordPress 6.4, which is this setup, the 2024 theme has finally shipped. And let me give you a preview of how the theme looks like. This is just a basic preview. Let me also open up the site in a new tab. It's already open. This is the 6.4 2024 theme in action. It's a minimalistic theme. It's very beautiful, well designed, and it comes with a lot of different options. So let's explore some of the options inside the theme. I'll go back to WordPress 6.4, and obviously to check out the theme options, I'll go inside the editor. And I'll just go back to WordPress 6.3 and also open the editor so I can highlight some of the differences between 6.3 and 6.4. So coming inside 6.4, the first basic editor, the features you already know, right? So inside the styles tab is where we'll find the default styles for this theme. If I go to the styles tab, you'll see a total of 7 styles. So additional 6 styles apart from the default one. If I go to the default, you can click here and you can see all these important changes happening on the screen, which is how your website will look like if you choose this theme. My personal favorite is the mint one, which I selected before. And if you want to check out not just how this page will look like, but all the different blocks, all the different typography options, images will look like, you can use the style book option here. If you click on this, you can see the style book, which will display all the different blocks that your website will probably use and how they will look like. So it'll give you a complete idea of how your website will look like with a particular style. And this is not exclusive to 6.4, but just wanted to highlight that this is available for you to check out. So if I check out the style book in the mint theme or mint style, you can scroll here and see how the fonts will look like for different headings, the paragraphs, the images, how the galleries will look like, the list will look like, the quote block, an archive block, audio, and all the different features that WordPress websites have. You can just instantly change the theme. I'll change to oinks, and you'll see this happen here. So this is how easy it is to understand how the styles will affect your website. I'll go back to the main style. And that is the first main important difference between WordPress 6.4, a brand new theme which ships with 6 additional styles apart from the default style. Another important difference with WordPress 6.4 is the use of patterns. Now, if you go here, you'll see this patterns available or patterns options available, and you might remember it from WordPress 6.3 already. So I'll go back to WordPress 6.3 for a second and just give you an idea. If I go to the editor, you'll see patterns available here as well. But the difference is, if you go inside the patterns here, there are no patterns here. But if you go to patterns inside WordPress 6.4, it actually ships with a lot of different patterns that you can utilize. And for people who are not up to date with WordPress, reusable blocks had now been merged into patterns. Earlier it was also called theme parts, but now everything is inside patterns. And what are patterns? Think of patterns as predefined or pre-designed blocks that you can instantly add to your website, and you can add it to specific pages. You can add it to a specific, template pages that you have, and you can also add them to your entire theme. So complete control is on you, or you have complete control over how you want to design it. So you have 34 different patterns, and they're divided into categories as well. You have the about pattern, banners, call to actions. So I'll just scroll down here and give you a little bit of idea of how the patterns actually look like. So you can see the heroes section, which is already on the home page. You have left line call to action with image and all these different patterns available to you, which make it easy to actually design custom pages. For example, not everybody might need an RSVP, a landing page, a template, but some of you might do. So now you have the option of adding it to certain pages and removing it from certain pages. And this gives you more options, more control, and makes it easy to design a website. So that's the first big difference. And as I mentioned, if you go to WordPress 6.3, the patterns section exists, but there are no patterns that are shipping. So big change coming in WordPress 6.4, availability of new patterns. There are a couple of more changes with respect to patterns that you should be aware about, which are coming in WordPress 6.4. Let me demonstrate once again. So this is WordPress 6.3. And if you go to the patterns, as I mentioned, there are no patterns visible here because it doesn't ship with patterns. But you can create new patterns by clicking the plus icon. Now, if you click the plus icon, you can clear a template part or create a pattern. If you click create pattern, now you can name the pattern and start creating a pattern using the WordPress editor. Now, at 6.4, you'll see two different options. The first one being, if you click here, you'll see also import pattern from JSON. So if you have a pattern already saved as a JSON file, you can directly import patterns inside WordPress and have them done. So if you download patterns from anywhere on the internet, you can import your patterns directly without having to recreate them. The second big change here is that you can go to create pattern, and you'll also be able to add categories here. So you can categorize your patterns that you create, and it'll make it easy for you to organize and also recognize what patterns have you created. So these are the two new changes coming to patterns. So let's talk about the next big difference in WordPress 6.4, and let me just show you what the difference is. This is a website with WordPress 6.4, the same website we're working with, and this is the same, I'd say, the same kind of post in WordPress 6.3. Now, if I click on the image here in 6.3, nothing happens. But if I go here and go into WordPress 6.4, if I click on the image, this happens. Yes, a built-in lightbox inside WordPress has been introduced inside WordPress 6.4, and it's not something that is mandatory to use. If you go into the post section right here, this is WordPress 6.4, by the way, the same post that I demoed you. I just click outside here, and this is the image block on the screen. I click the image, and you see the option being presented here, expand on click. So if you enable this, only then the lightbox option is enabled. So I'll disable this for now just to give you a demonstration. I'll update the post, go back to the post, refresh the post. And once the post is refreshed, you'll see I'm clicking on the page, nothing is happening. Once I go back, I enable this and I click update. And once again, I go back, refresh the page. And once the page is refreshed, I can click and expand the image. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this feature will only be available, or it will be grayed out here, unless the image has extra resolution to support the lightbox. So if you're uploading very, very tiny images, you might just experience that this is grayed out. So upload a little higher resolution images, and only then you can use the built-in lightbox in WordPress 6.4. On to the next feature. The next big change inside WordPress 6.4 has to do with the command palette. And the command palette is like using Spotlight on your Mac. You can search for it and you can run commands directly. And inside WordPress, it was introduced in one of the previous versions. So this is WordPress 6.3. You can trigger the command palette by using Control or Command K depending on your operating system. So if I press Command K, you'll see you can type something here. So if I say page, you'll see all the commands related to page that you can use. So it makes it easy to execute commands inside WordPress. But if I do this exact same thing in WordPress 6.4, you'll notice new commands. So I'll press Control K, I'll say page, and you'll see new options pop up here. So that's the big difference. The second difference is in the visual identity. You can see the command being highlighted here has a subtle, I'd say, color difference. But in WordPress 6.4, the contrast is much higher. So it makes it easy for you to actually see what command is being highlighted. So you'll see these big differences, new commands being added, specifically new keyboard shortcuts also being supported, the new design changes. And just to highlight the new commands being introduced is one of the most, I'd say, important features, which is the transform commands here. So if I go to WordPress 6.3, one of the common things you'll do inside WordPress is actually group blocks or transform them. So if I select all the images here, one common thing you could do is group these blocks, convert them into a gallery. And if you have text-based blocks, you might convert them to a quote block or something else, which is a common operation. And the only way to do that is with usually the subtle options or options that appear over the specific blocks. And if you go to the command palette and search for transform, you don't see any of these options here. But with WordPress 6.4, these options have been introduced. So if I select all these images here and I press Control K, I search for transform, you can see transform to columns, to gallery, to quote, and also to group. So this makes it even easier for you to make transformations or change the blocks on your WordPress website, specifically with WordPress 6.4. I don't know about you, but I'm very excited for this feature. This is very, very useful to me as a website user. So on to the next feature. Another subtle change inside WordPress 6.4 is the new ability to set background images for group blocks. Let me demonstrate. So inside WordPress 6.3, I've created a group block. This is right here. I've selected the group, and if I go to the block settings and styles, you see I can change the color of the text and the color of the background. Now inside the color of the background, I can set solid colors or gradients. But if I do this the same thing in WordPress 6.4, going here, I'll select the group block. You'll see I can do the same things, but I can also set a background image now for group blocks. It's a subtle but welcome change. Another subtle but quality of life improvement inside WordPress 6.4 is how the toolbar is handled for blocks which have child blocks. So I have a quote block here, but this applies to every block that has child blocks. So list blocks, quote blocks, and also different kind of blocks like the navigation block. So if I select the child block and you see the toolbar appear here, if I select the parent block, the toolbar above just keeps shifting around. So if I have to like click instantly when I select a certain block, there are a lot of times you would misclick. And it caused a lot of frustration, at least for me, but this was a common complaint. But in WordPress 6.4, this has been fixed. So in WordPress 6.4, if I just keep moving around and switch and select child blocks and the main parent block or the main block, the toolbar actually stays in place and it provides a much better experience in my opinion. As I said, this applies to only the blocks which have child blocks. So more specifically, quote blocks, and navigation blocks, and some other blocks as well. So another welcome and quality of life improvement. Another big improvement inside WordPress 6.4 is in the document overview section, also called the outline or the list view. So this is WordPress 6.3 and this is the typical list view or the outline that you usually are used to watching in WordPress, and it doesn't have any exciting new things. But in 6.4, there are two exciting things that I want to talk about. The first thing you'll obviously notice is the image preview here. This is a brand new feature. Inside the list view, you'll see the images and the galleries being previewed here. If I zoom into the screen a little bit here, you will see this is the same image that you can see on the left of the screen. So just giving you a little bit of hint that you can see previews of images as well as galleries. And the second important change is that now you can rename group blocks into something else. So this is the group block that I created just before the previous step. If I go here and I'll say rename, I can actually rename it to hero block. So just give me a clear idea of what that block does. You can see now it's renamed. If I go back to WordPress 6.3 and do it here, there's no rename option. So again, a big change which makes your life easier as a WordPress user. Another small but highly requested change in WordPress 6.4 is how would you set links to be opened up in new tabs. Let me give you an example how it works. This is WordPress 6.3. If I want to make sure that this link, which points to wpbeginner.com, opens in a new tab, this is how I would do it. I would click the link, I would edit the link, then go into the advanced tab, then select open a new tab and then save. So a lot of different steps which are not required. In 6.4, it changes to much simpler workflow. Just go here, click the link, and you'll see on the card itself, it says open in a new tab and it's done. So very, very small change, but very highly requested change. And again, makes your life easier as a website maker. So quick wardrobe change, and let me talk about the last and one of the most important changes that's coming to WordPress 6.4. It's called block hooks, and it allows plugins to insert or hook onto blocks inside a block theme and add functionality on top. I tried to recreate this for this video, but I couldn't because not every plugin actually supports it now. So what I'll do is use WP-Beginner's blog post that we've written about this subject to explain what it means. So this is the blog post, and this is where we explain block hooks. Now, as I said, what blocks should allow plugin developers to do is have hooks inside the blocks inside a block theme. So just an example here in the screenshot, you can see, let's say for example, a plugin like WooCommerce. If you install WooCommerce right now, it doesn't have or it doesn't add any functionality by default. But with WordPress 6.4 and with the availability of block hooks, if you're using a blog-based theme, WooCommerce might allow or might have the ability to add these kinds of functionality automatically to certain areas of your website. Specifically, you can add, or the WooCommerce plugin might add login and logout features, automatically have the cart and checkout plugins, or I say buttons or links added to certain areas of your website, like the navigation or other blocks of your website. Similarly, if you have a membership plugin, it might also add some other areas or add some login, logout features, register features, payment features, and every plugin will have this functionality where they'll be able to use block hooks to actually add functionality on your website automatically. And as you saw in the screenshot, you can disable any of the block hooks if you don't want to use them on your website. So that's all what's coming in WordPress 6.4. Let me know in the comments if you're going to update to WordPress 6.4 when it comes out, and which of these features are you most excited about. You're watching Raj from WP Beginner. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.